I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager means. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't really. It ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun, it's an everyday theme. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not Haram or beef.
Peace, 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 peace. Light and illumination. I'd like to welcome you all true light seekers, to another installment of the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School each and every Saturday. Adapt class. I'm Mufti Dantes Schmidt L. Happy to be here. I'd like to just get us started with our Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Shalom Aleichem, Ayah Asha'ayah, Islam, Amen. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace and love, Noble.
Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. So with today's Adapt class here at the BBT, live on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all of our platforms here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, we like to always, come with different subjects that the community, all of the communities should be aware of. We always like to bring knowledge and information, to the masses. And today's Adapt class won't be any different. Typically, we have our Sheikh of the temple, who's going to be here in just a second. We're going to do him real good today, and she's going to be brought into the platform. But typically, we have a lecture format where, we just kind of going through the motions, and we're speaking a lot of powerful wisdom. Today, and we just having that cipher. On today's Adapt class, I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing the Sheikh and the founder of the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. That's Sheikh Khary, Goodman El Bay. And on today's interview that we're going to just be bringing to the masses, something different we're playing with. We want to bring it out here because Sheikh has the knowledge and wisdom that we want everyone to be involved with, not just us here at the BBT where we get it daily. But these are conversations that must be had. And the conversation that we want to have today is just involved with our misnomer Black African-American males. Today, we're going to be talking about education and what's going on with our misnomer Black African-American males in education. Information is knowledge, is what we all need to understand. Information is knowledge that should manifest into wisdom, something applicable, meaning something that can be used and applied to daily living. When Moors know and are in the know, and subsequently this information is transferred as wisdom being power. And theoretically, the absence or the lack of power, this is what everyone should understand, is directly or indirectly attached to the lack of wisdom or insight and the ability to make righteous decisions. More should understand the importance of adapting and growing mentally, spiritually, and physically. We must become educated and proficient in different areas of science and business in order to place our offspring, our homes, in a position of thriving educationally, economically, and forcing a large change in society is the goal. Moors cannot afford to continue to let others educate our children. That's what we're talking about today. We can't allow others to just educate our children, teaching them pseudoscience and academia, debilitating understanding of why they need some form of a applicable education. And as our prophet stated, if I can get you to think, you can save yourself. we must believe in the capacity of our group to succeed. And with that, I would like to introduce our Sheikh of the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. This is Grand Sheikh Khary Abna Hakim Goodman El Bey, spiritual leader and esteemed head of the Holy BBT Temple, known for their dedication to promoting health, wealth, and spiritual enlightenment. Sheikh Khary has played a pivotal role in fostering positive change within the Moorish American community. Sheikh Khary also holds a dual bachelor's degree from Khary University, with business management as a minor in marketing and sales and nonprofit business setup. Also, he holds a dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University in Christian leadership and pre-century history. And with that, I'd like to welcome, as we do each and every week, Sheikh Khary Goodman El Bey.
What it do? What it do? What it is, my brother.
How we doing today, Sheikh? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. We got that good workout in today. I did them 5 miles earlier, man. I'm doing amazing. How about you, Noble?
Same here. Definitely tapped into our BBT workout today, in which we do each and every Saturday, Sunday, and really just daily. You need to do this daily. Tapped in with Noble Malik today. Fierce workout as always. feeling good, feeling great.
All right.
Sheikh. But Sheikh, today, like I said, number one, I opened up today's Adapt class, with, a section of some of your literature that you gathered, compiled and divinely prepared, in which we're kind of touching on a little bit of what we'll be discussing today. And that was from the Moorish Americans Light of Ali and the Moorish Adapt Study Guide, the House of Ali Mysticism. We spoke a little bit about knowledge and education, and that's really, what we're going to be discussing today in general. Knowledge and education. And she really just your thoughts. We have some questions that we we want to get into for sure.
Okay.
We will kind of want to get into that's really going to be able to, to really speak on a lot of different things that is very important for us to speak on. So first, we just wanted to start in peace, Noble Malik.
Peace.
First, Sheikh, number one, honors again for just the opportunity to speak with you today. I know we typically lecture it out and we get to people that information, but gratitude for the opportunity today.
Absolutely, gratitude for you.
Islam, and as the topic at hand states, we just kind of want to talk about the current condition of misnomer African American males and education. It's a big thing. It's important, and a lot of folks, we need to just have this conversation on what is happening to our misnomer Black and African American males all over the place. And hopefully today with this conversation, we can get a little bit closer to understanding what happened and maybe some solutions, to what we can do as a community, moving forward. Islam,
Noble.
So just what do you feel, just number one, for you, what do you feel is the most pressing issue facing African American male, misnomer African American male students today?
And that's a good question, Noble Dantes. And I had the pleasure, even just before I get into it, man, I want to give you honor, and I want to give all the noble honor, man, for just being y'all and being stand-up nobles. Using your tools in the toolbox to compare things. And I just want to give honor to righteousness, because it's a lot of things that we see out here going on, and in the midst of, we still promulgate and do the right thing. So I want to give y'all honor and gratitude before I go on, and thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Islam, Sheikh, gratitude, just gratitude for the platform, and just gratitude for the continued encouragement for all of the muftis and the nobles of the BBT and everyone who hear the sound of our voice each and every day. It takes a stand-up leader, spiritual leader in the flesh, leader of men, to just kind of get folks to to get right. So we just give you honors and gratitude, Sheikh.
Man, absolutely, man. I give honors and love. But to answer your question, Noble, like, I write everything down, so I was prepared. So I always want to be right to the point. I don't want to miss nothing. But I believe we have to look critically at those who are teaching our children. I always say it in the misnomer African American schools. It's all particularly the male. But then you see 6% of the teacher and the professionals is African American. So if only 1% is African American males, 83% are what? The other. They, Europeans. Those are the ones that's teaching. With all due respect, no disrespect. And 66% decline in the misnomer African American teachers. This stat is old, man. Because when you look at it now in the communities and just do a synopsis, when you go to these schools, only time you might see a male is he gonna be the janitor or the physical education coach or something or teacher.
It's long. It's long.
No disrespect. But see, when we think about when people say Jim Crow and all this stuff, but we compare them and contrast, because I want us to look at the eye of things. I want us to look at things. When we talk about so-called racism in the country. So think back then, y'all. Now watch this power and watch the psychosis of this, because this is my answer. They were trained to become teachers and ministers. Who? Our brothers and sisters. If we were so-called subjugated in things, so when I'm saying coming back to the community, we were trained to be what? The teachers and the ministers. Therefore, when we talk about no teachers, our best misnomer blacks, our best nobles, our best Moorish mind, we were educated and trained to come back to our communities and work and uplift and educate what? The people.
Islam.
That's one of my big major observations that I see. And then when we say charter schools fall under a different, a different jurisdiction. When I always talk about churches and teachers, all this type of, community service, to where these churches and systems is already set up to be able to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and to add on, I've been able to sit and just do my notes with teachers and unions and things. And when some teachers say, or they may believe the reason for this so-called gap is due to income, sometimes you may say, yeah, single parent homes, sometimes, or some parents just don't know how to be parents, it's just what it is. And then some people say genetics, or you born into stuff. I even heard gangsters or kids like, yeah, I'm born, with such and such,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Islam.
So what I'm saying, I don't think it's none of them,
Islam. That thought that when you were just speaking about just parents, in the households prior to sending your kids to public schools or private or charter or these schools, you were speaking a little about just, hey, there's some, as far as just the most pressing issue that are facing black males today, students, as far as education, the home, whether it's one parent or, two parents in the flesh or whatever the case is, what should we be doing with our students, before they even go out to the schools where, hey, they doing comparing and contrasting and scholarly research at school, but what should they be doing in the home prior to even going out?
And see, Noble Dantes, that is a beautiful question, because if it's not in the home, I always look at us, and then I look at the parents. Like, it has to be total involvement. I know one of the nobles, like, man, if just imagine somebody parents said, if we had this when we were young, so if we had this when we were young, that means we can be the so-called, a Boy Scouts per se. We're not talking about when we talk about grooming our young brothers and bringing people together. So I really think it's on us. I really think it's on the adults. It's just like anything, just like love and hate can be taught, just like bad eating habits can be taught in the home, right?
Islam.
Yeah. I'm just saying. If that can be taught, I really believe what we're talking about can be taught as well in the home.
Islam.
I really believe that. I really believe that.
And with that being said, just being taught in the home, do you have a particular or specific philosophy of education, or what is your philosophy of education?
Well, see, this is man. Always the thing I didn't never like, y'all, is testing. After a college student go to school and go through all the work they have to go through to get their teaching degree, then they have to pass some tests. So that has nothing to do with aptitude and teacher expectation. What it's all about is understanding, that all children learn different. That's something that I had to learn. Making curriculum more, you have to make things culturally relevant, and then you got to be advocating for single gender classrooms. This stuff can happen, we sat and talked about this stuff, man. We can a lot of the stuff that I've been giving y'all the books, man. I was able to sit in conferences and they'd be like, man, if this can go through the masses, through an organization, through a brotherhood, a Masonic order, a church, where the young brothers be going through and they be junior this and junior nobles and junior empresses at a young age, getting this type of wisdom, it's a whole type of structure that'll be built. No matter if the home is from a single mom or what. Why? Because this is what would be in a community. This would be the norm.
Islam.
So that's what I always say, raising the expectations and making classes more culturally relevant. It has to be. And it has to be culturally relevant. And you must implement men. Especially in the so-called area, in the crisis area, per se. You must implement men and use that structure. So I think the whole system need to change,
Islam. And when we say culturally relevant, are we speaking? So could you break that down a little bit further?
Culture relevant?
When we say the culture.
Oh, well, the culture, okay. How can I say it? When a kid goes through so-called, how can I say it? Discipline, right? At a young age, the culture of not talking or not figuring things out, not the culture is what we have is that school to prison. So at that young age, it's a whole different way. It's a whole different culturally way that the misnomer black child is being handled. It's a whole different cultural way. And once we able to look at this and be able to compare and contrast and see the norm, then we be able to implement. And I tell everyone, what's the key? Charter schools,
Islam.
I mean, it's just what it is. Like it's I did a whole synopsis showing all the churches, and the churches have the same power as charter schools. Like it's the same power. So when we talk about things, I always like to talk about things that can really happen, So anytime a group of individuals with a group of children want to complain, things can be done the right way. With how you can create your own schools with great teachers. With great teachers that's learning outside the classroom, not just in the classroom, not like as a system, But we can proceed. I want to keep going on, but we can proceed.
Well, what I was just wondering, with that being said, if you are able to just speak on just any factors or books of research that may contribute to the continuing crisis of Black male students, Black African-American students' achievements. What's just what's holding us back? Is there anything out there that we could look into that you can bring to the masses that could be helpful?
Yeah. Well, first off, man, before we research anything, I think a lot of the kids and even the parents need to have an open mind when we going into our history. You know, when we understand language and we able to do what we're doing right here, come to a table and not just say daddy talking or this, not, and the other, but also let those that want to hear, you know, no matter what religion that they may be. But when you say a lot of history and a lot of books, Noble Dantes, you know, here at the BBT, we are sticklers of wisdom and, you know, how can I say, proving things per se, giving you the resources. And it's so many books, like it's writers, like understanding misnomer. Well, I always like to say misnomer because, you know, that phrase black, according to science and law in the context, you know, where we're going with it, but understanding black male learning styles, you know, is writings, it's all type of history that even what's Carter G. Woodson book, Miseducation of the Negro, you know, it's so many different pieces of wisdom, you know, that you can, first off, that we as a brotherhood, if we as parents can show our kids, you know, from a historical place to give them pride. And when people say race pride, we're not saying it to be racist per se, but we're saying giving you a clear understanding, you know, of what it is historically and educational wise, you know, and showing and examining our brothers, our young brothers, how is this gap from this and that, you know, from achievement, you know, and we can see how gender things work, you know, when making a gap in education, we'll be able to see these things, especially nobles when we see American males in special education, not a young man that's, you know, that's this, how can I say physically, and how can I say, you know, that's on that level, but a kid that maybe not paying attention and would be put on that level. I know so many kids that was put on that level when I went to school, Noble Dantes. You know, and so I'm comparing this and I'm looking at this, and they were labeled as special education. With all due respect, you know, with all due respect, and it had nothing to do with their intellectual ability. They were placed in these things. I'm telling you, and Noble Dantes, and when you see that gender and that special education pendulum, we see, no disrespect, that the misnomer, you know, other man, child, the WHIT males are being placed into that type of education at a 2-to-1 ratio. You know, during the time, African males, the ratio was 4-to-1. You know, and so it's alarming is that the teacher education programs are cognizant of this information. They all been aware of this for a long time, but nothing is being done to counter the disruption to this gender imbalance. And see, you can research history, man, from our writers. It's a book called on Special Education. It's like 80 mainstream strategies for the classroom teacher to implement under the supervision of a pre-referral intervention team. So when you say team, it's just like Noble Dantes. Say if you're working in the field of behavioral health therapy, right? And you may be assigned to a child, but this child got not only you as a behavioral health therapist coming to see him every so often, he got a doctor and a counselor, and then, you know, and then the child might be staying with foster parents or at a center, you know. So yeah, so I'm just using that as a speaking reference. It's a team per se, you know. And so a strategy is taking the best to what? Make the best. You see what I'm saying?
Islam.
I mean, so, go ahead, Noble.
Islam. Did you want to finish that statement?
No, go ahead.
So, just Islam to that. Are there just, because I want to say positive things that you were saying, just with respect to African American males in the education pipeline? Is there anything positive that we are seeing out there in the pipeline right now? Are you ready to speak on that?
You said anything positive?
Yeah, just are there what are some of the positive things that you are seeing that you see happening with respect to African American males in the educational pipeline? Are there any?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, I'm gonna be real. Since I've been home, man, and I always have to give credit to what credit is due. And I laugh when I said, Noble Dantes, I see like the Jewish Foundation that do a lot of work. I just was jogging today, and so many misnomer, African American families. They this church, I forget the name of the church, right where I be jogging from, give food out every what's today? Saturday, every Saturday, and they have service, and they feed, and they be open every day. So I see certain things that's good, because I'm always for good. Because if ain't nobody else doing it, I'm gonna give credit to that. But I also see other people works, and it may not be here, but some of the positive things is you and I and the rest of us being a positive influence on social media, where we're not arguing, where we're here building. I seen even when people say things about LeBron James and Jalen Rose, and they say, well, it ain't there, and the curriculum, this and that and the other, but at least these brothers, got their face out there. And when you go into them hallways, it's young kids looking bright and happy to be in that system of learning. So all I can say is kudos. And I say, that's a good thing that I see. I see those positives. So it inspires me, to be able to continue to do what we're doing, teaching this science from a good way, and be able to wrap it up in a good way of curriculum, and hope once it catch fire and continue to build, continue to bring more and more in, because I really think it needs to be taught at a young age, so that's what I see. I see a lot of positive, in this movement. I even know, Dantes, I even starting to see a different vibration, to be honest, on social media, because we've been on here for a minute, and we haven't changed, so that's how I feel. But I also feel that schools demonstrate and show that if high expectations and good classroom management, and a commitment toward understanding, learning styles of these males, and students will strive, they'll strive, especially if you got the right teachers in there, they'll strive.
Islam, we got to educate and elevate ourselves, each one, Islam to the Noble at RIEL live on our YouTube page. We also on Facebook, Instagram, Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School. In a lot of our areas, Sheikh, it's like, how do we get to this one, this section? A lot of our areas that we may have, grew up in, our communities, some of my middle schools and elementary schools in my area, I'm in St. Louis, you went to school with, metal detectors and different things going on in high school, middle school, and elementary school. It was a metal detector, Some students, you didn't know what it was. It was like a metal frame, and they just had a wand, So it's like they kind of prepare you in a sense. You don't know this as a child. You didn't grow up with community police. The police as a child was in the school with you. What was going on? So that just brings me to, I need to let everybody know it's over 1 million African American males in prison from the prison industrial complex. So with that being said, what can the educational community and parents do to challenge and change this? All of our kids ended up in prison, Sheikh. They in jail for the age of, some of them 13, 12, juvenile detention centers. Some of them they end up in prison for the rest of their lives, just based on how certain folks are being miseducated and trained. Some of our neighborhoods. Sheikh, can you speak on that?
Man, see, and that's a good question, man, because I really don't like to do stats, but stats, a lot of times when you look at them and when they from places and they unbiased, when you're looking at the alarming rate, of misnomer Black kids, whatever, being locked up for things that other ones not, it's a big ratio, just for having a certain, just like crack and cocaine, those are two different charges, you like when you really look at this, because remember, anyone that was arrested for crack cocaine received greater sentence for those who were caught with powder cocaine. You know who rocked it up, right? I mean, the psychosis. So come on. So it was this programming. This to what? To already do what? To already say we're going to get you like this. A class analysis, because those who are poor and low, how can I say low come, who have to resort to drugs and drug use like crack is cheaper and therefore what? More pronounced in inner cities. So it's more, you're gonna see it out there.
Accessible.
Yeah. And you get harsher and you get harsher sentences, both arrested and convicted for what? For the drug use. So all these stats is real, man. Like, and when you have kids dropping out, that's what people be asking me. Well, why kids drop out? Like that's a whole nother one, because that's so hard to me, because I see a lot of kids. Since I moved from Flint, and just like you said, Dantes, when I went to school, man, our school was nice. In 1990, five, six. Our high school won a championship. We had a couple people go pro, but what I really see, Noble Dantes, is it's just a lack of everything at a certain age of misnomer Black males. It started to crumble, because you will see pictures of kids, Dantes, from baby age, maybe up to about like 10 or 11, 12, maybe 12, then it switch.
Islam.
Then it switched. So it's so many things, man. The gap of economics and the gap of learning and the gap of aptitude is so astronomical, in certain sectors where our children have to go outside the community, Noble Dantes, for those special, how can I say, classes, for those advanced classes that I like to call prerequisites, And so, go ahead, Noble.
Well, so in St. Louis, I'm not sure if they still have it, but they used to have something called the DSEG program, where they would bus students who lived in, let's just say, inner city, urban, whatever you want to say. They would bus, these students out to these other, let's say, county areas a little further away from where they were located. It was called, it's DSEG, segregation, that type of thing, where they intermingling with the students, from this area and that area. So you got a lot of that. A lot of the people you might see, who went pro in any sport in St. Louis, they were probably part of the DSEG program. Unless you went to Deshaun.
Yeah, right.
But that kind of leads me into just this next part, where we want to talk about what are some structures that schools and colleges can have in place to just ensure a successful matriculation for high school African-American students that are preparing for college, they're preparing for college. Is there anything, any structures where we can implement with our students in high school, our Black male, misnomer Black African-American males who are currently in high school? They need a lot of attention, because some of them gonna be doing something outside of going to college, or having a trade, and they go and start making money and do what they need to do for their families. Some of them might end up in the street, Sheikh, but for those who they want to pursue something more, what can we do in that facet to just, as we're preparing misnomer African-American Black students in high school for college?
Man, that's a great question. But I think you heard me earlier when I used the analogy of Boy Scouts. To be a Boy, before you be a Boy Scout, you got to be a Tiger Cub. So I always talk about, before they get in high school, you know what I mean? And so when they get to high school, everything is already understood where you need to go or where they want to go, because we've been working on that. So what I always talk about is grabbing them at that 4th grade level. That's my whole thing, and being able to see them grow into manhood, and do our rite of passage per se, just like the other nationalities do, into manhood. So a certain way that we do these things. So that's my thing. That's how I feel, to where the kids will understand martial arts, will understand how to clean, will understand how to balance a checkbook, will understand how to treat his empress, will understand what the science about, will understand how to eat right, if that's what he or she choose to do. Understand academics, understand everything that's honorable, where at a young age, So that's my thing, the connection. I always talk about societies and brotherhoods, and they say, well, and I'd be like, well, what young brothers have you adopted? I always talk about that, and after we continue to do what we need to do, we're showing brothers that we don't have to be behind the walls, and what we have is good for the young masses. What we have is good for the young men. That's going to be something. It's almost like the Nation of Islam, and I'm using that as an analogy. It cleaned a lot of brothers up, no matter what a person can say about the thing or the machine or the spirituality. It did clean a lot of brothers up,
Absolutely.
And so
where it was then.
Yes, I just think some of that we need to go back to and allow those to do that. And instead, a lot of times our kids getting in that system, like I said, Nobles, at that young age, we need to be able to get in contact with them. When these young kids go, when these kids are judged, like Malik like to say it, the kids thinking they a giraffe and they a Black Panther per se, you have to see why you are who you are. You have to be able to know who you are. You have to be able to see that at a young age and see others like you doing things that's normal. The things that we're talking about, the normal things. Now, we're not talking about circumstances, because it's going to be that, but the norm. So I just think that whole, I hate to say it like that, but that upbringing, I think that need to be connected, just like the big brothers and the big sisters. I think that whole connection, us as noble, that need to be an offspring of what we doing, Yep.
Islam, and just reintroducing, like you said, what churches used to do and what the community, what we used to be about. So developing, these community organizations, just like we're doing here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle, in our local areas, we're bringing that back, and that's what you're wanting to do, bring it back to the community, these different styles, of education. So with that in mind, just any advice for parents or guardians or anybody whose responsibility it is, to help grow and develop, a child, a misnomer, unfortunately, a Black African American male, or fortunately to have that opportunity, to help them grow and develop. Is there any advice that we can give to these parents and anyone who's responsible for a child and raising a child?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you said parents, and a lot of times today, parents do be friends, but I understand and I don't understand, but sometimes, you don't have both parents in the house, but the males, most of the males influenced by peers and television and rap, and some of them just games, and we know kids do learn different, but we need to be just like, okay, I'll give you an analogy, Noble Dantes. When last year when I came home, I was downtown Flint, little girl lost her, the girl lost her life. I was going to the concert, the old school concert, A-Ball, MJG, Day Family, all that, Top Authority. So then I'm here this year, a little 9-year-old girl get shot. They shot her house up 200 times. And nobody act like nobody know nothing. Now this 200 times, the house, you know? So the context, what I'm saying is, for me and all the stuff I went through, you know, thought I was tough. When 15, hanging out with, hanging out, you know, because my brother and them were older. You know, you still have to know your kid. You have to know who your friends and who your kids' friends are. You do.
Absolutely.
Today, I'm just talking about today. Because, see, we had a limit. You know, even though we thought this and that and the other, we had a limit. And today, it ain't no limit. You see what I'm saying?
It's long. The rules have changed.
Yes. And it's different. Why? Because everything is televised. The Big Brother is there everywhere. And so this whole system is really different. And that's why I say we have to know. We have to understand what's going on. We have to see these things. We have to talk to them. We just, like, all these things as being a functioning family. We have to eat with them. Like, what you mean you finna go in your room? Like, family things. These are the things that I know work for me. And I was able to resort back to these things and be able to give these to children. Say, hey, no matter what, if you, whatever circumstance, these are family values. And you can instill these things. You can be this at a young age. All these values gonna rub off on everything else, you know? So I always go back on the parents, you know, the house, even the women that's into the science or into whatever you may be into, is still a duty to make sure that young man have, you know, that aspect. It's a duty. It's a duty. And so we here trying to fulfill that goal, man, before the other man get them. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. You know. So Islam.
Absolutely. And you know, and just like you said with social media, it is getting worse. It's getting a lot worse, and it's almost like it's just continuing to just be promoted and pushed in front of our black males, and when they walk outside in some communities, this is just, you know, what they're seeing in their communities as well, right? Outside the home, you know, they see all of this stuff going on in their communities, heavy police presence in some communities and different things. So that school to prison, you know, pipeline, you know, it's a serious conversation, and it's something that we do need to have in the minds of all of our parents who are responsible for raising, you know, the misnomer Black African-American male. Sheikh, and we've spoken a lot, you know, just gratitude, you know, just is the attitude as we pause for the calls, and you know, and just kind of, you know, mention a little bit, you know, just everything that we brought to the table so far for anybody that's out there listening. You know, it's been so much. Go ahead and hit the playback and get some of these concepts and bring these concepts to your home and to your mind and to your home and to your community, as we here at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, under the guidance of Sheikh Khary, as we and try to implement these same things in our own backyard and our own community. So, Sheikh, we've spoken about a lot. Is there anything else that you can just elaborate on about just your concept, as you call it, the rite of passage ceremony that will welcome and guide our young boys to adulthood?
Yep. Well, yeah, we'll touch on that for a quick second, but like I always say, man, the mentoring aspect, if any mother out here or that's single, anything, a kid always need to be exposed to organized manner versus just they go into the gym to play ball or anything. Because when you being coached, you being learned per se. It's a discipline, it's a goal. And then you have that adult mentor. But when the kids talk about they just street balling, that's no discipline. It's no structure. And so I always promote sports, make students adhere to all these, how can I say, contingencies. All these contingencies. So I think that's a plus. But as we get to the next topic, Noble, I really feel an absence of just the fathers, you know, just to keep it real 100, it's a lot of times it's the absence of the father, you know, and there's no disrespect to no male or this, not, and the other, because maybe the relationship didn't work. But I really believe, and I can say it like this: the way we treated each other in that circumstances, where we would be so low to each other, where we involve the courts, and you really don't need to, because once you involve the courts in this process, it's a lose-lose. You know, let's just say it like that. You know, because things should be done in a proper manifestation if it's done from love. You know.
Absolutely, Islam.
But a certain thing like we was talking about, like this rite of passage thing, man, Noble Dantes, it's like almost like the misnomer Jews when they get a certain age, you know, and they go through their young, manhood to become a man, and all these ceremonies, to usher them into that next level,
Islam.
But when we talk about us, where's ours?
Where's our rite of passage?
If you think about it, because I keep seeing men, and I'm still not seeing young men, Dantes, and I'm not seeing it. Like this, we're building now, This is an endangered family. It ain't no ceremony or no ritual. No, remember, as in the ancient Africans or the so-called Jewish bar mitzvah, right? To usher the black male into manhood. Nobody ever officially tells him when he's attained manhood. Remember on Baby Boy? Y'all remember when Baby Boy first came on?
Yeah.
The
beginning of
Yeah. And here's generally too little to signify or certify it correctly. But, in the context of a thwart solicitation, many misnomer black males appear to never fully realize that they have embarked upon manhood. Hence the persistence of a multitude of adolescent distractions extend far into maturity. With all due respect, why? Because we'll say childhood trauma. And I say, if there's any childhood trauma, because I know a lot of childhood trauma, I done seen death a lot, but if those things are happening, it's ways for you to get help. It's ways for you to seek help. Those are tools. And in our misnomer black community has lost effective controls over the machinery of children and socialization of the youth. I don't see it no more. When I talk about, only reason why I talk about Tiger Cubs and Boy Scouts and all these things, and the fathers was there, is because my father was there, and other misnomer black fathers back in those days. They was there. No matter what they was into, they were still there. No matter if they was gangsters or professionals and all that, they were all there. Because that's what men do.
It's long.
And the byproducts of this loss is 2 generations of misnomer black youth that lack identity, purpose, direction, connectiveness, and self, family, community, ancestry. And they have been profoundly integrated into the life, values, and arms of, Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda, with all due respect. And we don't realize it, We don't realize it, man. So how long we've been on? We've been going. We've been on here for a minute, but it's just lacking historical consciousness and social conscience. A lot of our youth represent a great irony for it. They don't have no sense of who they are, and I think we just have to show them, because it is a crisis. It is a crisis. And I do feel us as brothers, and I think this really, and I have to always, throw high fives to my brother Malik, because I know where my brother Malik be coming from. Us as males, especially Moors, no matter what our ism is, our paradigm, we should be able to sit down as brothers if we right. We should be able to be, I'm sincere, but you sincerely wrong, or vice versa. Why? Because I want the best for everyone, and if you want the best for everyone, then that's what should happen. But if that's not the cause, then that's why men should agree to disagree on things that should be agreeable. Why? Because it don't make sense what I just said. So therefore, you have to be okay with letting those people be on a level that don't make sense. That's all I'm saying. But if everyone have the same mission and for the righteousness of all man, no matter what color they are, and don't want to see no harm to no one, and build infrastructure in your area and with people globally, that's the mission. That's the mission, So, that's what I want to say with my brothers and sisters, especially in this Moorish movement. I really, as I say again, especially a lot of brothers that may have their hearts are not in the science the proper way, because I really believe some Moors coming in this science for the wrong reason, just like any young student may come in whatever it is for the wrong reason. But I think when things are, how can we say, from an educational perspective, from a spiritual perspective, which is dealing with all law, I think it'll help us, because it's a proven system. And then just like when we get hold to our young brothers and sisters at a young age, man, I think it'll change everything around, and it's no other way. I think we really need to be able to bring this to the masses and to the churches and to the communities, because it is an outlet. When people say it's no hope for the youth, yes, it is. I guarantee you it's hope for the youth, because I was a youth. I know it's hope. Why? Because come on, I already know. I know no kid don't come out there want to be a gangster or lacking any abilities to be the best that in whatever they want to be. They just haven't been introduced to it. No, man, we know how to do that. We know how to cover these youth and make it okay. So I give gratitude, man, for just that illumination, man, and my 2 cents on, adding value to our misnomer African American males. And as we go deeper with this conversation on later dates, we can expound on it a little more and have our muftis expound on it from their perspective and what they see, and kids and sports and things. Because our Noble Malik is a coach on here. He coaches high school girls basketball. So it's so many levels that we can really, as I like to say in our Moorish Quran, use these tools in the toolbox to compare and contrast and say, okay, well, let's look at this, let's look at this, let's look at this, let's look at this. And we can see all these ways that can affect positively or negatively the outcome of a young male or female, how if these variables are filled. So, that's all we talking about, and being proud of who you are, especially our youth, man. Like, they definitely don't know Dantes, and I think that's a lacking aspect as well, so just giving them a platform to talk about it and write about it and have some books and have some literature about it, Dantes, a lot of literature, and be able to have them speak on it. So, yeah.
And just continuing to just have those conversations and introduce other aspects of the conversation as well, to our communities, because a lot of students, as we spoke about in the past, they learn just a tittle of different things while they're in their school structures. They're not learning a lot of different things in their school structures in general, especially about self-identity, and identifying and nationality and creed and different things that a certain group of people got taken from them, so-called, and now we battling this mental prison thing. And how do we get out of that mental prison thing? And just talking to our people in our communities. That's about who we are. You know, things that we didn't learn. Your history run a lot deeper than 1492.
Yeah.
But that's where it started. So, you know, the education piece runs deep, Sheikh.
And see, Dantes, is so beautiful to look at it, the pendulum both ways. Because I remember me and you was talking about, you know, I remember a lot of our good conversations. That's why I said we have recorded. They'll be like, dang, that's yep. Because I remember you said one of your teachers made y'all read or what was it, Roots or as required reading.
They had a class called African American History AP. It was African American History AP. Number one, Roots came on regular TV, but the school decided to, I don't know, they was able to show it to the students, and this was an AP class. So if you know anything about, you know, this was more of like an advanced placement type of class, advanced placement African American history. And one of the top things that they had us do, Sheikh, we had to watch and study religiously Roots, where it talk about slavery of, you know, Asiatics and melanated, you know. They said we were slaves, and at the end of the day, the entire Roots program is false. It's made up. From a book that we talk about from Arthur, I believe, Harold Collinger, I believe, called The African, I believe. So the entire thing is false. So why are your public schools? This is just, I wanted to say it. Why are the public schools? It's a real question. Why are you playing and having your students, your brown and black or whatever you want to say, having these students, whether it's AP class or regular class, watch Roots? And Roots is not a legitimate depiction of this group of people, but you're trying to sell it to them. And that's who they are, and that's who they were, and that's who their culture were, and that's one of the issues, Sheikh.
And nobody's appalled. And I said, and that's what I said. We on here arguing, and this is what our kids getting. What you mean? This is our kids getting this, and we're not stopping this. Like whoa, because this is what they're getting. And they're getting Willie Lynch, and they're getting Willie Lynch too. They're getting the same false narrative. They're getting Willie Lynch as well. And they ain't no Willie Lynch letter. So we getting two things, and then we got rappers saying it all. All these rappers talk about some Willie Lynch. No. Certain figures said that at the marches. But I said, come on, man. These things are premeditated because it ain't no Willie Lynch letter. Why would Willie lynch his property? It'll be in the Library of Congress. It's not one. I lectured in college. I got all the documents. I show people where it's made up from. And what you're saying, we have to be willing to step up and say, nope. Why? From scholarship. Because once again, this type of, like you said, false narrative, this type of pseudo academia is what? Debilitating.
To our people.
Yes.
They think they come from slavery. How are you going to be anything in life if you were taught for 18 years of public education that people look like you was a slave?
Come on. How, Dantes?
How you going to be able to do it?
How? I don't know. From this age to 18, how? Your whole mental, I don't care, is going to be what? We came from Africa on a boat.
On a boat with some millions of other people. And that don't even make sense.
Nope. They're going to be talking about roots. I'm serious, man. And because now they think this history. Now and so these are the things when I say, when we say to parents, like, come on, like we have to help the children stand strong and be able to talk about this, and we have to be able to support what we need to support, especially with the kids, to be confident, to be like, wait a minute, because some things, man, and like I said, it can't just go, it can't continue to be how it is. It can't continue to be, especially Dante, like the conversation you just had and just understanding who we are and just taking it all the way to understanding to who we are and human rights and so-called reparations, because we all down with that, Dantes. And going back to our middle-aged kids, and we'll get off in a second. We get about a few more minutes. And going back to our middle-aged kids and all that, they do need to know who they are. they do need to be corrected with these things. Why? For we don't use the wrong phrases that identify or that's synonymous to slaves. So we can be corrected. So we can sign a proper way as a collective body. So we can move a certain way as a collective body. So when they see these certain individuals on paper, you see this is who they are because they have the right. The Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. This stuff hasn't been taught to our kids to show them that they had the right to things. The SF 181 form haven't been educated to our children. Like Malik and me and him love talking about white by law and having a clear understanding of these things to say, aha, and you can give things back that your parents may not have known. Not doing no status correction, but a mistake has been made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A
mistake has been made. And Sheikh, some of us, and I've heard this, and I'm a student minister. I'm studying, and like anyone who's studying themselves, and we're studying different things that we weren't exposed to younger. Some misnomer Black people, Sheikh, they'll ask, well, why is it important? Why is that important? Why? And I know we about to close it up, but that's why is it important? Why is it important for you to know as an adult that your history don't have nothing to do with being in chains and shackles and picking cotton and doing all of these different things? You don't want to know this, that before 1492, it was something else going on, or before these different ages. There's different research out there that explains these things. There's different scholars who present this information. We didn't learn about Dr. Ivan Van Sertima in the public school system. All right. So we didn't know about they came before Columbus. So how am I going to learn about they came before Columbus, right? And then have to take a class called Roots, or a class where they showing me some roots. So it's a lot that's going on in our communities. A lot of these institutions, are putting these folks right back into certain mentalities where they would never know. It is important. It is important. It's not about why is it not important. It's important for you to understand about self-identification. It's important for us to understand as a group of people, nationality. It's important. All right. You can call yourself Black, African American. It's important, especially for your young misnomer Black males and females, your sons and daughters. If it's not important for you, allow it to be important for them, and just continue to come to the Burning Bush Tabernacle and see what Sheikh and us Muftis are wanting to introduce to the masses. Sheikh been doing this for a very long time, Sheikh. And we give you honors, man, for this message that you've been pushing, with the BBT for years, Sheikh. Yeah, and it's still something that we got to continue to push. Yeah.
I'll give you gratitude, man. Give y'all love once again and understanding.
Islam. So we appreciate you, man. We hit it with the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our God, and our salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Shalom Aleichem, Ayah Asha'ayah, Islam, amen. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace.
Honors, brothers. Honors, Sheikh, Noble.
Honors, Dantes. Peace and love. Gratitude.
Peace.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Gratitude.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man of meager means. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I mean, I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't. Really, it ain't no in between. Baby, you can ask the sun, it's an everyday theme. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay